question asked out in Vegas with Circa, and right off the bat, they said, well, there's a lack of action. Elite teams begin so far ahead of the pack. Alabama, Georgia, and Ohio State. Quote, seems like they've had a negative impact towards betting handles. I think people are discouraged about college football. There are no mid-range teams that people are excited about wagering on or that they think have a chance to break the landscape. Basically, Alabama, Ohio State looks like an inevitability. And if things get really crazy, maybe Georgia and Ohio State. This is not an attractive market, and it's not good for the sport. How about that?
I agree. We all have for years, right?
Well, bettors are waking up now. It's like, what's the point of this? But that's only at the top of the.
Yeah, that's
only
for
at the top.
championship futures.
Yeah,
There's plenty of value at 7.5 for this team or 9.5 for that team.
Well, right. And I think there was a reason I brought this up beyond just like, okay, that's bad for college football. This is, I think, reflective of just your non-better. You know, yes, it's hit the market now for gambling, but I think the non-better thinks about college football this way and has for some time. Like, well, what are we doing here? I bring it up every year when we think about the health of the sport and where it's headed and what's going to happen that will allow for this to sustain and grow. It's been growing and growing and growing. I think now you've seen a leveling off period, at least in terms of enthusiasm for the future of the sport. There's also great mystery, but it really doesn't in any way, and we're lucky in this sense, pertain to us as Florida State supporters, fans, or those that are fans of teams other than Alabama, Georgia, and Ohio State, right? Like those guys over there, it's championship or bust. We've been that program before. It's just been a while since it's championship or bust conversation. It's been quite a while. You got to go back to 14.
Yeah, if you were a fan of a team like a Michigan State or Washington or Oregon, somebody who's been more consistently in the conversation on the periphery as like, oh, they could finish in the top 6 or top 7 this given year.
Right.
Utah is entering that discussion last year and certainly this one. Even though you finish in the top 6, you got no chance to win the national title. Notre Dame, there's another good one. Like, those teams should be pissed. Those programs should be pissed. We've got other things to fight before we can be mad at that part of the conversation.
Yeah, and I think that's exciting. I mean, it allows for you to enter into the season with this idea that, look, we're not even contemplating championships. We're contemplating how much better is Florida State than they were a year ago, and how much better can they be both this year on into the following, and on and on and on. And yesterday we went to the luncheon and had a great time, and with the great access, again, talking to coaches afterwards and getting a sense of where Mike Norvell's head's at, where those coaches think that their respective units are at, segments are at. And we reported on that for you. There's a ton of it on warchant.com. I would suggest going over there. You can see interviews and write-ups, and obviously right now doing depth projection stuff on warchant.com. We'll have something live for you today. I think I'm going to be joining Tom Lang later on this evening, right as practice concludes, as Mike Norvell finishes addressing the media. A practice we'll both be at, practice that the staff will be at. Everybody excited to get a look at the newcomers, because obviously today holds a real value. It is obviously ceremonial in that thus begins the season, thus begins the process, thus begins the day-to-day activities of football, what we hope is growth, and obviously all the stories that accompany that. And so we'll do something live on the channel on Warchant TV, and we hope you'll join us. We think around 6 is when that's going to get started.
Yeah, roughly speaking. I mean, they've got the IPF in case there's bad weather, which there most certainly will be. It's the afternoon in Tallahassee, Florida in July.
Yeah.
But it should be right around there. Folks usually flock to our channel at that point. If you haven't done so, subscribe, hit the bell. If you hit the bell, it'll notify you exactly when we're going
when we go
live. But usually people on the first day of camp are flocking to the channel when practice wraps up. So if you do so, you'll probably find us.
Yeah, and I look forward to that conversation because I want to see some of the newcomers. You know, we've talked a lot about what is the returning starters, the guys that we've seen play. How much better are they? How much bigger are they? How much smaller are they? If they needed to lose weight, all of that is in there, of course. But the new guys, Julian Armella, for example, is somebody that you get excited about. Powers is somebody you get excited about. To answer Stephen F.G.'s question, I'm excited about Terrell Powers. I really want to see, because tight end's been such a desperate position. We've been so bad at tight end for some time. And it's important that they start to find an answer there. They have not up until this point. Cam McDonald's a serviceable starting tight end, not much more than that. And I don't think that the guys behind him are in a position right now to step in and really do good things. I think down the line there's some guys there. There's some names that we like, but they're not ready to go just yet. Maybe, and that is a position that if you have the requisite density and weight, and you can figure it out as a blocker, you got a chance to play. So maybe Powers comes in and is a guy that can surprise us. When the bar is low somewhere, I'm looking there for the newcomers to help raise said bar. Let's get to a place where we go, hey, all right, that's recognizable as something that can change the outlook of your team. So that today I'm excited about. And really, I think that the class as a whole was, not where we wanted it to be necessarily, but it's still not a terrible class. So there are plenty of kids that we're going to be looking at and getting excited about.
Yeah, the guy for me, we talked about this last week, is Demetria on the offensive line. I just want to see what he looks like compared to some of the other bodies on the OL. Like, does he look more like Caden Lyles, or does he look more like Maurice Smith? Now, of course, he's not going to be 270 pounds like Maurice was in spring. And Maurice himself is going to be somebody that we,
It's a guy
with
we're
an
going to
interested
zero
eye
in
look
on. How big
towards.
are you? Yeah.
But how do you carry your weight? Do you look like you can handle the rigors of week-to-week battling in a Power 5 conference? Because if you don't, then immediately I'm thinking, all right, how does this guard battle shuffle? And what could he actually be for us? If he looks like a tweener, a half tackle, half guard, that also could be something positive to report. But I'm looking forward to it. Heard good reports about that particular player, Demetria in Charlotte. So we'll see what he looks like on the field.
Those guys are promised, obviously, the opportunity to come in and compete and maybe have an impact on this team for the good immediately. We look at offensive line, and probably no group more than the offensive line when we talk about projected depth as an area of great intrigue. Because, again, you've brought in so many new bodies. They have really, truly thrown numbers at the problem, and it's important to do so because this is a group that has been lacking, to say the least. And if they're serviceable to above average, it changes everything about what's possible, both schematically and in terms of season records. So, for Florida State and for us observing this team today, we're going to be looking intently at at this group, because I'm really excited to see those that needed to get bigger. Did they get bigger? Did they put on the good kind of weight? Those that came in and are vying for an opportunity to fight for the starting five, are they viable? Now, you won't know it today necessarily unless they've got a ton of bad weight on them, but you'll know pretty early on in camp, once we get to pads, what their skill level is, what their bend is, what their footwork is like, their length, all of those things, and whether or not they're going to be competing as potential starters. And Demetria, who you just pointed to, probably seems chief amongst them.
Yeah, this is reacquaintance day for a lot of players, and then it's get to know you day for a couple others, and then you go through acclimation day 2, acclimation day 3, and then it's time to get with the getting, as you like to say. So I look forward to this day, though, because, again, on the offensive line, you mentioned Armella, but there's Sapp and Jalen Early to go along with Daughtry Richardson and Kania Charlton. I want to see if the new 3 offensive linemen, it always comes back to the trenches because that's where we've done the best work in last year. I want to see if those particular players look like a different class of freshman recruit. The body types, if you read them on, the official roster, say yes, they are.
Yeah.
They're closer to being able to play the most 18-year-olds that we brought in here in a long, long time. Not saying that we want them to. I just want to see if Josh Storms has a lot to work with. And I bet the answer is going to be yeah.
I laugh here. I see on the chat early in the show that, I thought JC wanted to get rid of the whole tight end room. Now he's excited to see it. Bought in. Well, that's funny. Get down or lay down. I'll tell you this. I think everybody buys in early on in camp to the excitement surrounding football, not necessarily that the segment group is going to be appreciably better than it was a year ago. But I think in the case of, and I still want to get rid of the vast majority of the tight ends on the roster. We have 47 of them, and like 2 might be able to play a little bit. But I will say that there's a reason to get excited about the level of recruit you brought in at the position. I mean, that is, we've been waiting for them to find an answer in recruiting. And we thought Jackson West was going to be that answer, but he has not been, because he's had the same problem that I've been worried about with Johnny Wilson, and that is he didn't catch the ball. Jackson
Right.
is physical. He's nasty. He'll hit you. He'll fight you. He'll agitate you. He'll do the things that you like to see with a football player that has some edge to him. He has from day one. He didn't catch a damn thing in the spring. So when he had an opportunity to catch it, he dropped it. That's got to get better.
Yeah, if you can blend him with Brian Courtney, you've got yourself a player, and a player who's going to be dynamic in this offense. But
Brian Courtney's got to get a lot bigger, though.
They're two separate people with two very different skill sets.
Yeah.
Jarrell Powers might be a little bit more of the in the middle. We'll see. Maybe Wyatt Rector took a step this offseason.
Well, the oddity is that Wyatt Rector was as good as anybody in the spring. So, we all mentioned that. Anybody on the beat, we all kind of watched practice, and every day we were like, well, I don't know. Wyatt Rector seems to be doing as much as Cam McDonald has. So, I for one never looked at that as a good thing. I always walked away from practices like, look at that. Wyatt Rector was our best tight end today. And that's not a shot at Wyatt, who's had to switch positions. He's a former quarterback, and he's put on a ton of size. He's a weight room monster. He's all those things. And he's relative to a position switch for a guy, he's pretty good at it. I mean, most people who do it, it's really hard to transform. Ask Tim Tebow. It's really hard to just do that, right? But he did a fairly decent job. But I always just thought of him as a depth piece. So when he's emerging in the spring as your better tight end, I'm like, that ain't good. That's less than ideal.
Even still, today won't be the day to disqualify anybody at that position. It'll just be a day to take note of who looks the part. By Monday or Tuesday of next week, we can start to have that conversation. You still won't disqualify anybody from being able to compete, but you'll have a better idea after a few days have passed.
That is for sure. Nole fan 407, Jeff and Tom, what segment group has the biggest war, wins above replacement, beside quarterback, in your opinion? Well, I wouldn't put quarterback as a plus war.
Well, yeah, maybe for this roster, wins above Florida State replacement. So WAFSUR.
So he's being very specific, not to the conference or to college football, but to this roster.
Well, that's my application of that logic.
Well, that's a better one to do, because if we're going to do the nation, it's not as fun.
He might be a 0.5, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
D tackle, safety.
Yeah. So I was on Chuck Oliver's show today, and he asked me to, going into camp, what did I feel best about? And I said, well, I think the interior of the defensive line. I mean, I'd look at the secondary because I feel really good at safety. I mean, obviously between Jamie Robinson and Akeem Ditt, you feel pretty solid back there. But to me, the interior of this defensive line, it's not just your two starters in Coop and Lovett, both going to be really good. And both have worked really hard and are dynamic. And I think really there's a lot of power, size, girth. It's going to be hard to run against Florida State up the gut, because they're better at linebacker in the middle too with Tatum Bethune. So I thought that right up the gut, Florida State's better. And I dare say maybe good. Like if there's a lot of times there's this caveat that we have to use when we talk about Florida State segment groups or, each side of the ball. We'll say, well, relative to what we've been, we're better at wide receiver. Are we good? I don't know about that. Are we better? Yes. I think in Florida State's case on defense, when we talk about up the middle, I don't have to throw a caveat out there. I'll say I think they're good. I think they're legit good. Now, championship level teams are deeper than Florida State is up the middle, but the starters up the gut are good. And the group at defensive tackle just behind the starters, I think, are more than serviceable. They're plus players. So I like that group an awful. Malcolm Ray's a good football player, and he was emerging more and more last year, and I think he's due to take another step. I like Farmer more than I think a lot of members of the staff do. I don't mean the football staff. I mean the Warchant staff. I liked what I saw out of him.
Yeah, he's more consistent. That's the thing. Jarrett Jackson is a better player on his best plays than Farmer right now, but Jarrett's not consistent. So if you have him out there for 5 or 10 snaps, he might flash on 3 of them in a way that's unholy, where he just chucks a guard to the ground. You're like, why doesn't that guy play more?
Yeah.
But from what we saw in spring practice, we'll see if fall's a different story, because you're closer to the goal. So maybe there's more urgency out of some of the guys that maybe were a little lackluster in spring. But play for play in spring, Josh Farmer was a more consistent player, and he worked well with Malcolm Ray.
He did. And so anyhow, that group I like it a lot. I think they're good up the middle. I think that there are real question marks off the edge as we start camp, but I'm excited about watching Dennis Briggs, who I thought was on the verge of being a very good football. He's also I think a little bit more multifaceted. He's a guy you can slide inside and do really good things with. I hope he intentionally injures Louisville players when we play that game. I would try to take out knees left and right that entire game. You'd throw me out of the game at that point, because that's 2 years in a row that Louisville has been a bunch of cheap shot artists, and I that's just a different story. But as far as this season goes, I hope he is fully recovered, because he was going to be really good before the injury happened.
Third and passing really lends itself to Briggs sliding in the middle. It does, because then you can put Verse and McClendon on the outside. And look, just talking to some people over there yesterday, on and off the record, they're pretty high on McClendon as well. So we'll see.
Derek's an interesting player. He's a tough guy to kind of figure out, right? And he's just a redshirt sophomore, and you kind of, okay, so now's the time, because third year. Let's see what happens. Yeah, I think so. I mean, he's a good player.
I thought the twitchy was there in spring in a different way, where you'd say, oh, okay, that can affect the quarterback. And when you pin your ears back.
Yeah.
Sorry. Pin your ears back.
We're not pinning the tail on the donkey.
No tail between the legs.
Oh, what are we
want to pin the ears back. I think he has what it takes to get home and collapse the pocket. I don't know about running downs or neutral downs, what he's going to look like, but just in terms of being able to affect the pocket when it's 3rd and 9, I think he's ready to go.
I think so too. I'm excited about that. And I think Jared Verse is going to have good days and bad days. I can't figure out what he's going to be, but I think he'll have good days and bad days. He'll have speed. He'll have explosiveness. There'll be times where maybe even lacking technique, he just makes plays, but there'll be other times where he gets, I think, bullied a little bit. He's got to take a big step forward, and he will. I mean, when you come in from Albany, it's hard, and so he was already impressive in the spring. So who knows what we see here and how quickly he develops.
I know there were times in spring where maybe he would freelance a little bit and hunt for a play, but he looks like he knows what he's doing. Like, he's not. Remember, there was a Featherston guy who was here, and
straight down the line.
It didn't matter, and it looked like maybe he didn't understand what the offense was trying to do to him. I think Verse understands what the offense is trying to do, but it might be akin to a quarterback as a rookie in the NFL or something, throwing a lot of interceptions in his first training camp. I got to know what I can't do. I got to rule out where I would get burned.
I can't make that pass here.
Right.
Linebackers are too fast. Yeah. So this is fun because it's football related. It's meaty. It's new. It's back. It's, I don't know about you guys yesterday, but, and not only do we go to that lunch and then we talk about it afterwards, and we start organizing what our tasks are as a staff and what we're going to be watching for at practice and who we interview. But I went home after all that, and I was watching NFL Network as they get set to document training camp. They'll be with the Bucs today. I was going back through and looking at all this. I said, can you realize, the Hall of Fame game is coming up? The Hall of Fame game is upon us, Tom. And I don't even care about the Hall of Fame game as opposed to just what it represents. It just represents the return of real football. It's dudes running around, hitting one another in pads, and we love it. August the 4th.
A week from tomorrow.
August the 4th. In 1 week, football is being played. Organized with officials and a clock in a stadium. Dudes getting hit. It counts to some degree.
Trevor Lawrence will be on that field. Devontae Adams will be on that field.
1 week. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
You were always more than my mom. You were my role model, my best friend, and biggest supporter. You filled my days with unconditional love. And you also prepared for the day when you couldn't be here. Because of the woman you were back then, I'm able to be the woman I am now. Your planning made this moment possible.
Set your family up for life. Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance. Your friends for life.
This is Andy Cohen. When I was a law enforcement officer, I devoted my life to a career of service and protection. Who's protecting you? Give me a call. 850-671-FARM. That's 671-FARM. Helping you is what we do best.
Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance Company, Jackson, Mississippi. Not licensed to do business in all 50 states.
Leaky faucet, busted pipes, clogged toilet? M&L Plumbing is here for you. For all commercial, construction, and residential plumbing issues, call M&L Plumbing at 575-9393 or visit online at mnlplumbing.com.
Siri, tell me a joke.
The past, present, and future walk into a bar.
It was tense.
All jokes aside, the trained professionals at Mac & More Systems are serious about Apple products. For all your Mac repairs, call Mac & More Systems at 894-3622. 894-3622.
Physical stress on our bodies can take its toll as years go by. Whether you're looking to get back into an old sport or just want to spend more time outdoors to explore all life has to offer in our beautiful city, the dedicated team at TOC is here for you every step of the way. You can trust TOC for all your orthopedic needs. And now, scheduling an appointment has never been easier. Just visit teamtoc.com and click schedule online. That's teamtoc.com.
Hi, my name is Shannon Pash, and I'm the principal at Red Hills Academy. We will provide a challenging, rigorous curriculum. We will also work with our students to teach them how to set goals and then how to work to reach those goals. Red Hills Academy will offer the Spanish language every day. Relationships are really important to us, not just with our students, but with our families and the community. This benefits parents and students alike because parents get that involvement within the school. Easily apply online today at redhillsacademy.com.
For many in the workforce, their goal is to climb the company ladder. Often the climb requires a move to another city, and that's especially true in our industry. I'm Jay of Paul's Termite and Pest Control. If you rise the ranks of our competitors, there's a good chance moving up means moving away. Why? Because they're not local companies. They're from places like Orlando, Atlanta, Salt Lake City, and even Europe. That's certainly not the case with our employees. We're a company that was founded in the Big Bend and remains locally owned. When Paul's Termite and Pest Control employees advance, they remain in the Tallahassee area. Don't trust the safety of your family and pets from disease-carrying pests or the structure of your biggest investment from termites, the people who may be here today and gone tomorrow. Trust Paul's Termite and Pest Control, a company that has serviced thousands of our neighbors right here for over 50 years. Being local really does matter in our industry because local problems require local solutions. Paul's Termite and Pest Control are the Big Bend's local experts for the elimination of termites or any other pest, and a greener lawn too. Call Paul's. We'll get them all.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
The Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness. 2 Tallahassee locations, Midtown on Thomasville Road and Northside in the Village Common Shopping Center. Online at orangetheoryfitness.com.
Tom, how much do you think a ticket is for the Hall of Fame game? So if you chose to go see the Raiders and the Jags for the Hall of Fame game, you wouldn't unless you were in town and you were just going to the Hall of Fame as a soldier or something like that. But what do you think you'd pay if you wanted good seats?
Wait, a good seat or a ticket?
Well, let's go 50-yard line. We're going to do it up while we're at the Hall of Fame game. Here we go. What you got?
$72.
So if you're sitting in the club level at the 50, it's $225. Now, if you say, I don't need the amenities, I don't need to get loose at the Hall of Fame game, I'm going to
know there was a club level on Canton. Isn't it all bleachers?
No, they've got a tiny little club section. Everything else is ass. But here you go. Section 223. That's about the 40, 45, $95.
That's about,
you weren't too far off.
Market value. Yeah.
I feel like those tickets should be $7. This game is always garbage. It's just about what it represents, which is the return of football. And that's exciting.
Yeah, if you go to Canton, the game, you don't even go for the game. You go for the ceremony if you care about a player. Like, I guess Baselli's going in this year, right? That's why the Jags are there, I'm assuming. So if you really care about the Jags, and here's your moment, one of yours, beloved Jacksonville Jaguars gets their bust enshrined in Canton, make sure that you go now because there may not be another one in your lifetime. Celebrate that.
Get your shots in, buddy.
and then go to the museum and go home. Don't bother with the game.
While you're there, that's a long ways away. I guess I'd go to the game, but I just know that anytime I'm able to get on these airwaves and say football starts in a week, that's a good day.
Is there a first quarter rate? Can you just pay for going for a quarter?
Yeah, I'm gonna go see the kickoff, watch some people hit each other, hear the sound of pads clashing, connecting. That's a good thing.
All right, time to go home.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's ride on out of here. I will also say, though, that yesterday was interesting for other reasons beyond all of those things. What did you think about, and we'll talk about it here, and, anytime it comes up, we're going to be drawn to this, and this is probably in perpetuity until things change, and I get it. It doesn't even bother me. I must have received, 15, 20 notices when people were excited about the potential of Florida State going to, say, the Big Ten. Kevin Warren telling Action Network, besides Notre Dame, that a handful of schools would add value to the Big Ten. Those teams, as mentioned, Oregon, Washington, Stanford, Cal, Florida State, and Miami, said Warren.
I think that stands to reason. There's nothing illogical about that statement. The Big Ten's footprint is missing some areas. They just added the West Coast. Kevin Warren was lauding yesterday how they're in every time zone. They've got, 14 hours of prime entertainment they can give to their new provider whenever that deal is signed. So he's
already
jockeying. He's doing well with that. But there are some places on the map that they're missing. And this state / the Southeast in general is a huge, huge missing piece for them because of the passion that the Southeast has as a region for the sport.
So regionality is out the door, at least according to the commissioner of the Big Ten. I mean, we are not, I've heard and even seen some writers, and I'm not surprised by certain angles that certain writers take, that the SEC doesn't need to expand anymore, that the Big Ten should think about adding Notre Dame and that's it. People fancy themselves the keeper of the game, of the sport, and what should be. But the reality is that these decisions are not made by what fans want, sentimentality, or any of those things. It's about money. It's about what's going to make you the most amount of money when those TV deals come up. So to your point, if they can expand in a way that allows them to have a presence on the West Coast, the massive swath that is the Midwest, all the way over to the Eastern Seaboard and up north, down into the South, then they've got something for everybody. Yes, that is correct. I mean, hell, while you're at it, just add Baylor. Now we've got Texas. Now you can do it. You can just add it all. We've got the country.
Right. So then the network is, because they're not working together yet. The TV networks are not working together. So you've got to make this a can't miss product for all time zones. And if you can achieve that as the Big Ten, then you must do it. But we all know about the logical hurdles that are in front of the Big Ten to acquire programs like Florida State and Miami. It's massive.
I want the friction and the who's is bigger contest between Sankey and Warren to play out, in which it's a constant threat. I want them to be publicly threatening one another at all times, as well as privately, about who's going to expand first and how far they're willing to go in this war for the best and most and brightest and most lucrative entities. That's what I want, because that certainly benefits Florida State, certainly benefits those that would have the brand and the cachet worthy of the invite. Clemson, I suppose, Miami.
Right. If you get to a place where you can choose either, and the grant of rights isn't an issue because there's horse trading going on, it's like, where do you want to go? Then we can have that discussion. For now, it's I don't care where we go, as long as the checks are on the level of our rivals and the people we're trying to beat for a national championship. But you have to say it. It's 90-10 likelihood that if you're going to go to one of these two conferences, you're going to go to the SEC.
Yeah.
And what puts pressure on the SEC to make the moves, like you're talking about? This does. This creates more urgency for the SEC to sew up everything they need to sew up in the region and in terms of brand power. So I don't see that yesterday as, ooh, we could land in the Big Ten. Maybe it moved the chances of that happening by 0.1%. I look at that particular situation as the SEC might move quicker now because of public pressure. This is on the record stuff.
Yeah, the quote from Brett McMurphy quoting Warren, "We're not messing around." Okay, good. Your move, Greg. Let's go. let's get with the getting. Aggressively negotiate the $500 million you're going to need to pay to see us and Clemson leave, and let's go.
Well, and it's not just Greg who has to move. It's ESPN executives.
Correct.
These are the two people that need to feel pressure. It was last week that Jim Phillips did say, and it was a week ago today.
What a day that was.
These are our business partners.
Yeah. Or 50-50
And I feel like if I call them out by name, maybe they'll be more likely to do something. Like we have a real relationship here.
I thought he was doing that exact thing. Like, don't forget about us.
Yo, Jimmy.
He might as well have just said, we're in the conference too.
Jimmy, help me. He's putting up an etch-a-sketch with a Jimmy help me sign. Well, the business partners that are more powerful and the phone call that'll be taken before Jim Phillips calls an ESPN executive would be Greg Sankey's phone number. See, Greg and Jim, and they're both calling. Which one do you think is going to be swiped on and which one do you think is going to be ignored from ESPN? So if Sankey feels more urgency because, wow, Warren's willing to go on the record?
I thought it was interesting that he did.
Speed it up. Let's go.
Yeah, there was really no need to do it other than bravado, machismo, and a willingness to say, well, look, we're not in denial about where we're headed here.
And because it was the opposite of what the SEC said.
Yeah.
Which is, we could stay right where we are right now. We'll see. We're going to be nimble, but we could stay where we are. And Warren's like, hell no.
You go ahead and do that.
We're playing for keeps.
Yeah. Get limber. It's time to get it on. It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV.
Your local news now.
The Suwannee Valley Electric Cooperative announced Tuesday its plan to build a fiber optic network stretching across Hamilton, Lafayette, and Suwannee counties, optimizing its electric grid and bringing high-speed internet to its customers. The press release says the network will shorten power outage response times and bring greater efficiency in general and control electrical devices throughout the smart grid. Construction for the project is expected to begin in the second quarter of 2023, with the first internet customers expected to be connected within the year's third quarter. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation and the Lanier County Sheriff's Office announced Monday they are searching for a man in connection with the death. Law enforcement officials are searching for Rodarius Rod Swanson, a 24-year-old male. Swanson is wanted in connection with the death of Savion McRae on Highway 221 north in Lakeland on June 18th. Anyone with information is asked to call 912-389-4103. This is Rachel Lene with Real Talk 93.3 Local News Update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Partly cloudy this afternoon with scattered thunderstorms likely. High temperatures reach up to 90. South winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Chance for scattered thunderstorms tonight. Lows dip down to about 74. Partly cloudy skies. Chance for scattered thunderstorms again tomorrow. Highs level off around 90. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 91.
Whitten Glass has been taking care of families since 1945.
Experienced, reliable professionals who offer only the best, like Whitten's top-of-the-line bath enclosures. Eye-catching storefronts are a specialty at Whitten Glass, and they provide precise installation.
Whitten Glass, Tallahassee's first family in glass. Online at whittenglass.com. Call 850-222-5781.
Well. Hey, Jeff, look at this place.
Yeah. Well, doing well. It's been a while since I've seen you, brother, but, it hasn't been a while since I've been over to Gordo's. I go there on the regular because of you, Eddie.
Well, we keep you regular.
Well, that's true, but I think of Gordo's as a place to sit down, have a cold beer, talk to your friends, enjoy the sports, eat the delicious food. But I think of you as Uncle Eddie, a man who takes care of his people and takes care of the town.
I appreciate that, Jeff. Hey, and we'll keep you regular.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
Here's what you missed on the Greg Tish Show.
Chattanooga, Tennessee. Pastor Tabner was alone with a female church employee. She in a towel and he in his boxers. The charismatic 41-year-old Hurley explained the two of them had been making chili and gotten food on their clothes. With the hot dogs that they were making, we are hoping that the pastor used the right condiments.
I think there was at least one hot dog involved.
I don't know what you're talking about. We were just making chili dogs.
The Greg Tish Show, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m., only on Real Talk 93.3.
that played college football and what those numbers are, not because I was advocating a play or a bet. I was more celebrating the return of football, and these various lines are kind of fun to look at. Just in terms of what the perception of programs are, LSU is, of course, a program that is omnipresent on the minds of Florida State fans. I'm asked about that today. We're talking about it. Our players are talking about it. And that's obviously because Duquesne is Duquesne. But LSU as not only a fairly brand recognizable, obviously, squad in college football, but also because of Kelly coming over. This is weird to read this, right? So on the heels of talking about future markets and what's changed outside of the big three, is there a fourth or a fifth? Southern Cal was the team that was brought up next. Now, you can go ahead and lose a ton of money on Southern Cal, in my opinion. There's no chance in year one that I would be taking a good look at Southern Cal as a team that could win the national title. No chance. And that line has moved from 25-1 to 16-1. No.
To win the title?
Yeah,
I thought you were talking about
crazy.
maybe overs on win totals or something along those lines.
But here's where I'm going with this, just because it applies to LSU, and I find this fascinating. And I'm reading from the piece that was done earlier today by David Purdom, who does such a good job of covering all this for ESPN.com. He got into LSU and what people are looking at, as a perception, what they could be. LSU would be another example of one of these teams this year. Our raw win number for LSU is 5.
What?
I'm going to read that aloud. Our raw win number is 5.5. We used 6.5, knowing that the public most likely will want to bet this team over a low number. In these situations, we're basically looking for a number that a recreational player or fan will bet over and that no professional player will bet under. This remains to be seen since we're so early in the offseason betting cycle, but so far we've only taken over money on LSU. But the fact that they were looking at the raw number at 5.5 and then placed it at 6.5 because they were trying to entice, really? Good.
I have their schedule. Would you like to look at it?
Are you going to start with the loss to Florida State?
Well, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It's Southern Jaguars, 1-1. Mississippi State at home. Should win that game, right?
You would think.
Then they play the Lobos of New Mexico.
That's another win.
At Auburn.
Well, that situation at Auburn is a mess. Brian Harson's not going to survive, and they go into the season in shambles, in my opinion, so they should win that game.
All right. Tennessee in Baton Rouge.
Tough game. Kind of a toss-up game.
All right. At Florida.
Kind of a toss-up game.
Hosting Ole Miss.
I think Ole Miss will beat them.
All right. Bye week, Alabama.
That's a loss.
At Arkansas.
Ooh, Big Suey, buddy. I don't know. That's probably a loss on the road.
Hosting UAB.
Win.
And at A&M.
Loss. All right. So that's interesting.
That sounded like 6. That sounded like 6-6 to you.
Doesn't sound great, does it?
No.
Sounds like a team that's imminently beatable. That's what it sounds like to me. Sounds like that over total depends on LSU getting a win over Florida State is what it sounds like.
Big game for the bet tours.
Yeah, it is. It is. The rest of that paragraph reads, LSU has been a very popular team in the national title futures, mostly because you get the chance to bet another high-profile new hire, Coach Brian Kelly, moving to a historically elite program at a much higher price than Southern Cal. LSU has attracted significant money at some higher prices in the 90-1 range. Well, yeah, so that's not 90-1. Sure, you're betting on a miracle, everybody. Bet us 90-1. Same bet. I mean,
if you want to burn your money.
Yeah, if you're just throwing it to the wind, whatever the hell, what do you do?
Take a big lighter to it.
What are we doing?
Same bet.
That's nuts. No, man. I don't. Yeah, I just thought that was fascinating. That raw total was 5.5. They moved it to 6.5, and they've got nothing but overs because the public is going to pounce on LSU as a brand. It's something. And listen, Brian Kelly's done a good job in his career. He has. I mean, people's opinions about him are interesting for a lot of reasons. I don't think you can ever get it out of your mind, the red-faced nut job, which later turned into a reflection and change of behavior behind the scenes, which then, was then shattered because he tried to pretend to have a Southern accent.
Kind of purple face too. He's going to match his new pullovers or our home jerseys, one of the two.
Which do you like most, when LSU wears the yellow and white, or do you like the purple with the yellow?
Option 3. I like the white helmet with the purple and the white pants. That is outstanding.
It's regal.
Yes, with the purple LSU above the tiger. Man.
What do you like when Clemson wears the purple?
No. Awful.
You like when Clemson
because
wears...
they don't have a white alternate helmet, so it's purple and orange. That's just no. What are we doing? That's like a creative team on Madden.
I would go with white on white at all times if you can do it with Clemson, because the orange helmet with the white paw.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a good look.
What was interesting is in college, I had no idea that purple was a secondary color, because in the video games, it was only orange and white. And then I realized when I made the trip up there and you see a lot of purple stuff, like, wow, they actually have that. And now they start to roll it out a little bit more in their uniform combinations, but it's strange.
We didn't go over at the time, all the preseason polls by media members at the respective conference kickoffs. And you go through and you see what the media voted at the Big Ten. And obviously the SEC, but the ACC, no surprise here, voted Clemson as the preseason choice to win the conference. That would be the 7th time in 8 years, and that's annoying. But there was 164 votes from media members. They were the choice, obviously, to win the Atlantic. Overwhelming pick. NC State was second on that list, and that's not surprising. The Miami Hurricanes were picked to win the Coastal in the final year of division play for the ACC. So that, too, is not surprising. I don't know who else I would look at in the Coastal other than maybe Pitt, even though they lose an NFL quarterback.
Maybe it's just me, but I feel like NC State is a better bet than Clemson in terms of likelihood, because it's more consistent. Now, he has a super senior team, does Doran, and so therefore, next year there's going to be a drop-off. But they kind of know what they are. I don't know what Clemson is. Does Dabo know what Clemson is, especially on offense this year?
Well, they got an elite running back and an offensive line that'll be a hell of a lot better than it was a year ago. I went into last season warning everybody that the offensive line was a dreadful mess and we could make money off of Clemson early in the season, and we did. And I talked about them not being able to protect DJ. I think that had a huge impact on his confidence, and he just began to fall off a cliff there for a while as a passer. I don't know if he can get it back. Let's hope he's ruined. But who knows? We'll see if he is or not. But their offensive line play, in particular tackle, will be better this year, so they've got a fighting chance to protect him. I'm hoping that the interior struggles a little bit there, but I think that they're better offensively, at least in terms of protection, than they were a year ago.
So is that just because of the experience they gained last year?
Because well, then there's some talent.
You were ringing the alarm bells before they played a game last year.
Yeah. Well, they chose not to go out because of his stance against the transfer portal. They knew if there was one area they had been whiffing on in recruiting, it was intermittently the offensive line. And the way the cards got played, they ended up having to start a freshman at a key spot on the offensive line too. And that's not ideal when you're trying to win championships anyhow. You can survive it along the way in the Atlantic, but it's problematic.
How early experience for college offensive linemen can ruin them. It could be a problem, lingering problem.
Lord knows we have. And now this year, if you're rooting, like this is basically the time of the overview here as we get to start practice. And we've talked a lot about what Florida State is or isn't, and what they're capable of, and the starting lineups and all that stuff. But we start to look a little bit closer at the opponents on the schedule. That's why I looked at LSU. We're talking about Clemson right now. Talking about the rest of the ACC. Obviously, we play NC State. That's a difficult game for Florida State to win this year. But if you're rooting for Clemson to continue to stumble, I say continue. They won 10 games a year ago. If you're rooting for that, then what you're hoping happens is that you have all of this upheaval and change behind the scenes within the coaching staff. And it's been a radical change. And the lack of continuity, generally speaking, is not good for a coaching staff. When it happens year over year, like it has the last 3 years, and you lose your top offensive mind, your top defensive mind, the top offensive assistant to that offensive mind. When you lose those guys, yeah, you can replace them. And, your head coach stayed the same, so recruiting's not really dropping off all that much. But you'd like to think that there's a transition period, and let's say they're not on the same page. Let's say the pressure that Clemson is most certainly under year in and year out to sustain that level of excellence gets to be too much. You have a hiccup along the way. You lose a game or two that maybe you're not supposed to, and then this thing begins to avalanche a little bit. That's the hope. I don't know if they've got a culture problem that's showing a crack in the armor. It could rise up here. There were some indicators that was in place. I always know, because we're sensitive to it here. We watched it happening. And I think, obviously, if you're in the place covering the team in that city, that's what your job is. You're going to be alerted to the problems sooner than everybody else on the outside. But you're also keenly aware of the symptoms and the signs. And so there are some signs that maybe things are beginning to break up there. And this year will go a long way in telling us if that's true.
If they slip up early, Dabo's not going to handle it well. He didn't handle ACC kickoff well in the 15-minute video session, which is the softball central. He takes, his skin is very thin right now.
Yeah, well, he resents being second guessed despite the most successful run, and he's engineered the most successful run in Clemson football history. And the mere thought of being second guessed after a season in which they finally didn't win the conference for the first time in 6 years, pisses him off. And I can understand internally being angry about that, but what you can never let that do is affect the way you answer questions at an ACC kickoff. I mean, yeah, you would be in your mind, you might say, "Oh, sorry, we didn't make the college football playoff for the 7th year in a row. My apologies. Sorry, these national championships, plural, haven't been enough for you, or our participation in those games haven't been enough for you. Sorry that our step backwards resulted in only 10 wins last year as opposed to 11 or 12. You might think it. You can't say that. And then that in turn becomes this defensive look and this anger and this edgy, which suggests you're thin-skinned. And that's very strange despite having that success. You have to be above that.
He's not above a lot of things, as we found out. The perception of him was, oh my gosh, it's just like when Bobby was coaching. It was nothing like that.
It was never like that, of course not. But he can all shucks it with the best of them, though, publicly, in terms of winning over those mamas and daddas in that program there at Clemson, South Carolina. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Well. Hey, Jeff, look at this place.
Yeah. Well, doing well. It's been a while since I've seen you, brother, but, it hasn't been a while since I've been over to Gordo's. I go there on the regular because of you, Eddie.
Well, we keep you regular.
Well, that's true, but I think of Gordo's as a place to sit down, have a cold beer, talk to your friends, enjoy the sports, eat the delicious food. But I think of you as Uncle Eddie, a man who takes care of his people and takes care of the town.
I appreciate that, Jeff. Hey, and we'll keep you regular.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
Hi, I'm Dr. Shannon Lord with Finn Chiropractic. We are primary care physicians, and you don't need a referral to come see us. Chiropractors not only help you get to the root cause of your problem, but it helps get rid of neck pain, back pain, and headaches. It makes your body whole and healthy on the inside. So if you or a loved one has neck pain, back pain, or headaches, make an appointment today to get to the root cause of your problem. Come see me, Dr. Shannon Lord, at finnchiro.com. FENNCHIRO.com, because your chiropractor loves you and there's nothing you can do about it.
Let me tell you what T-Spark stands for. It stands for strength, commitment, teamwork, and heart. We don't ever quit until we've got nothing left to give. Our team is unstoppable. Want a guaranteed win? Call T-Spark Enterprises for your next roofing or construction project. We conquer all peaks. TSparkConstruction.com. License number CCC 1331204.
Welcome to Allstate, where you can save just by being you. DriveWise in the Allstate mobile app gives you personalized driving feedback, and by adding it to your policy, you can save for driving safe just by being yourself. Allstate. Here, better protection costs a whole lot less. You're in good hands at Allstate. Click, call, or visit allstate.com to save today.
Not available in every state. Savings based on DriveWise and other safe driving discounts. Savings vary. Subject to terms and conditions. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
DQ presents
Picture this. Picture yourself at DQ on Thursday, July 28th for Miracle Treat Day. You roll up to order a Blizzard with your friends and family like you have so many times before. But on this day, every flavor comes with a much-needed dose of hope. For every Blizzard you buy at participating locations, $1 or more will be donated to Children's Miracle Network hospitals for your local children's hospital, making Miracle Treat Day the most satisfying way to give hope to kids in your community. Thursday, July 28th at DQ.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas Wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
This set to begin, we always like to look at the entirety of the landscape. And I in particular like to look at Scott Frost in Nebraska just because my man is 10-25 so far at Nebraska. And I think a lot of Florida State fans like to look at our plight and say, we could become Nebraska. Let's not become Nebraska. And I agree. I don't want to become Nebraska. That's awful. 3-9 a year ago in year 5 will hurt your feelings. That's a toughie. But I wanted to see what he had to say in Indianapolis because I didn't go and look at that press conference at all. And he said, you may think that there's a sky is falling situation in Lincoln, but I assure you it's not. It may look like that from afar, but it's not. It's taken longer than any of us wish it would have. I think we had a good enough team last year to turn the corner. It didn't happen. My man, you can't do that. That is Jeff Cameron Show PR 101. Do not tell people your team was infinitely better than their record. That reflects poorly on one man. That can never happen. Don't tell people that you should have been this thing that you weren't even close to being. Never do that. You almost want to say, if you can say it with a straight face, we won 3 games a year ago, and if I'm being honest, I thought we looked like a 1-win squad in practice. So we did yeoman's work to get this team to win 3 games. Nearly won 4, guys. Nearly won 4. So if you really look at it, we have squeezed a lot out of this squad. And this year's going to be better. You can maybe do that. Don't tell everybody that you thought they were better and could have done more. He went on to say, I think we are arguably more talented this year. Well, I would hope. Quote, we're going to have a new quarterback. That's the biggest thing. The quarterback's play is probably the biggest factor in what's going to happen this year. Well, my man, I know you don't want to drag the kid down, but given that Martinez started for you 10 years in a row and sucked every week, you can probably say that with a little bit of an uptick in the voice there. We got a new quarterback this year. You can kind of wink, wink, nod, nod to your fans that we finally rid ourselves of the bane of existence, which is Martinez starting for us. Good God, man. That's what you should have been fired for, not the record. You kept rolling that sorry ass out there. Anyhow, they've got a new quarterback. He went on to say, but the feeling around Nebraska never changes. It's optimism and support. Come on, man.
What is this?
Come on, man.
A dystopian political rally? What are we doing?
Casey Thompson's their quarterback, the kid from Texas. It's a transfer. Went on in. I'll take that job.
He is anybody.
Small shoes to fill.
Anybody but the guy we had.
Small shoes to fill. Hour number 2, fourth cover. Stay with.
Coming up next, more of the Jeff Cameron Show. Live and local on Real Talk 93.3. WVFT. Gretna, Tallahassee.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott.
Another sharp interest rate hike is expected from the Federal Reserve today as the central bank continues an aggressive campaign to cool surging inflation.
The Fed is expected to announce an increase of up to 0.75 percentage point in its benchmark interest rate, triple its usual margin following the wrap-up of its two-day meeting today. That would put the Fed's benchmark rate in a range of 2.25% to 2.5%, the highest since 2018 before the coronavirus pandemic.
That's correspondent Julie Walker. Also at townhall.com, President Biden ending his COVID-19 isolation after testing negative for the virus Tuesday night and then again on Wednesday morning. His physician says the president has completed his course of treatment with the drug Paxlovid and remains free of fever. On the international front, a strong earthquake set off landslides and damaged buildings in the northern Philippines, killing at least 5 people and injuring dozens.
The 7-magnitude quake was centered in a mountainous area of Abra province, but its force was felt in Manila too, where hospital patients were evacuated and terrified people rushed indoors. In a chilling near-death experience, Filipino photojournalist Harley Palanchao and companions were traveling downhill in 2 vans in Mountain province when they suddenly heard thunder-like thuds and saw an avalanche of boulders as big as cars raining down just ahead of them. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Stocks higher after strong earnings from Google's owner Alphabet, Boeing, and Microsoft lifted investors' mood. The Dow up 90 points, the NASDAQ ahead 290. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Charlie Dombeck here from Key City Capital. As a practicing CPA for nearly 30 years, I have found that 80% of your ability to grow your wealth is dependent upon 2 factors, taxes and investment performance. At Key City Capital, we improve investment performance by diversifying capital into off-market investment opportunities in passive rental real estate and alternatives like asset-backed lending. We recover dollars that clients unnecessarily pay in the form of income taxes, creating a lifetime annuity of savings. We are a sponsor of passive, affordable single and multifamily residential rental investments, which are located in Sunbelt landlord-friendly states. These investments are the top choices in a rising interest rate and inflationary environment. They represent a store of value, protecting your capital from market volatility. Learn how we at Key City Capital can help you ultimately grow your wealth rapidly. Connect with me at keycitycapital.com or give me a call at 817-912-1569.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Broadcasting live from Florida's capital city, this is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
As mentioned, first hour that practice gets underway today. We'll have a live show for you tonight. I'll check in from over at the practice facility. T. Lizzie to my right here will make it hastily back to his desk and his setup.
Yeah, I'll probably take in the first 90 minutes or so of practice before scrambling home.
That's all you really need to do in the sense that you're checking out the new players that are coming in. Maybe get a good look at body types, what guys have done to transform. I thought that was, every year you're going to highlight the things that you did well in the off season if you're a head coach, especially when you have the first assembly of the press before you. You're going to talk about the good things that have happened. But you can usually read through that. Sometimes it's rhetoric. Sometimes it's something you can tell that a person is honestly excited about. And I think he certainly went out of his way more than once yesterday, did Coach Norvell, to talk about the progress that Coach Storms and his staff has made. But I didn't want to touch on the weight gains, and I didn't want to talk about the strength gains and those kinds of things, or the weight loss for some guys. He made a good point, and this is true at every football program in America. Who you hire as your strength and conditioning coach matters a lot more than people realize. And you might think, well, of course, this is the guy tasked with the responsibility of making sure, along with the nutritionists, that they're getting their bodies ready to compete and getting stronger and putting them through the paces and staying on top of these guys. But it's really about the messaging and the relationship that is being built there, because that's the guy that's around the kids the most, more than any other coach. Seeing him every day and his ability to send messages from the top down, receive messages from players, go back up the ladder, is really paramount to your operation. You need that connection from your strength and conditioning coach to its players back through the strength and conditioning coach to the head coach and to his assistants. And that's another reason that I kind of perked up. I liked the enthusiastic way in which he went out of his way more than once to talk about the gains, but more importantly, what Coach Storms was doing and trying to get them prepared. That's important. I think it's, you can sometimes detect when a guy is just here, when a guy is just part of a staff, not special, not unique, not somebody that they're relying heavily on. And other times when obviously the head coach feels like that guy has earned his paycheck. And there's no doubt he feels excited about what Josh Storms is doing. Now, again, the caveat to all of this is that's great, cool, glad you like him, appreciate his work ethic. He's paid handsomely, he should work hard. Fans pretty much will say, yeah, I'll believe it when I see us pushing people off the ball. I'll believe it when I see the physical and tangible aspects of that growth that he's referencing. I want to see this in a game. Yeah, we'll be able to see it in practice. We'll be able to see it with certain guys who I thought needed to gain strength last year. There are 4 or 5 guys in particular that I thought, man, if that guy gets stronger, the athleticism is there, the requisite skill set for that position is there. We'll see. So I'm looking forward to seeing that today, and really, more importantly, once they don the pads.
That's the thing that, I come back to with Robert Scott, is if he's putting on nearly 20 pounds in 4 months, what does that say about the potential?
Hopefully it says he's on steroids.
Of this strength and conditioning program. Yeah. What is it? Not his potential, the potential of what we do in order to get guys where they need to be from just spring to fall. Not 20 pounds from last year's fall camp, 20 pounds from April. Really? Okay, that perked me up.
Yeah, and I kid, sort of, when I talk about on steroids. I want us to maximize our ability to get the most out of these kids, and there are a lot of ways to do that. Alabama and Georgia seem to have figured it out.
There are plenty of legal supplements, sir. Plenty of them. There are stores in the mall dedicated to them.
I will continue to say that I'm not sure it's entirely possible unless the person maybe they had an eating disorder, maybe they had a medical malady, something along those lines. It doesn't seem possible to me. And again, these are growing boys. These are young men. I've watched Bryce put on like 25 pounds pretty quickly because he went from being 5'3" to 6 feet like that. But as a grown-up, it's hard to put on 20 pounds of muscle in a very short period of time. That's a toughie.
In all seriousness, it's not 20 pounds of muscle.
It's just 20 pounds.
It's probably a little paunch and maybe about 10 pounds of muscle. But
yeah,
still,
it's impossible. Yeah, I was going to say it's impossible just through working out to put on 20 pounds of muscle.
In 4 months?
It can't. It really, no. Unless.
Wait till this live read that comes up at the end of the segment.
Unless we're very proactive and we have found the proper mix of nutrition, working out, diet.
What do you want? He just ate a lot more. Realized he could eat another meal or two.
I would like for our strength and conditioning coach to have to find plausible ways in which to describe the massive amounts of strength and weight gain we are seeing per player, per position. It'd be a wonderful exercise. It reminds me of the Giambi brothers, and in particular, Jason.
Yeah. Old Jason. Remember when he came back from his suspension?
And he was down 25
He
pounds.
looked like a pencil.
And people were like, what happened?
Before he was a Sharpie.
Changed my diet. You did you?
I've already apologized for nothing
Yeah.
in particular. Remember that apology, but it's great to be back out here.
Yeah.
Looks like you trimmed down, Jason. I did.
Just a few pounds. I think he said something ridiculous. He was like 4 or 5 pounds. Like, dude, you lost a human being. You've lost an entire human being. I was just really concentrating on my diet, about 4 or 5 pounds. Just wanted to be a little faster.
Did you catch the little thing that Mike said about Pokey yesterday that was kind of funny because it tells you about how weight
What they
listings
list
are-
guys
right,
at?
yes.
Yeah.
I don't know what he was advertised as last year, but I mean, he's 10 pounds heavier. He's a different human. He's a different player, different body.
Yeah.
So you guys advertise. I see how it is.
I did crack up laughing with the classic he kind of caught himself and then he just went with it. Well, I mean, I don't know what he was listed as, but
Which means that
he's
Maurice
put
Smith
on
was
yeah.
advertised at 271 when he was 252 pounds. In spring.
In all seriousness, for Maurice Smith, man, it would be look, I want to win games. And I make jokes all the time about any number of things. At the end of the day, I want to win games, and I'm a bit of a mercenary when it comes to the whole winning of the games thing. But I do also feel for guys who have legitimate ways in which they cannot take the step forward because of some sort of setback, some sort of, it could be an injury, whatever it might be, right? And I'll tell you why. Because if you're undersized and you're being asked to play a position, it is the worst feeling in the world to know that before the ball is snapped, you are at a massive disadvantage, that you're going to have to go above and beyond to have any success at all, that everything about your play has to come down to perfect technique, perfect footwork, low man win. Everything about what you have to do has to be perfect just to have a fighting chance to offset this massive disadvantage that you have from a weight standpoint. Now, you can get away with it maybe as a corner, get away with it as a receiver. You know, you see slightly built guys all the time kind of get away with that at the speed skill positions. But in the trenches, you cannot get away with being sufficiently undersized. I mean, my man he looked like a fish out of water in some of these games against the better teams we played. And at the end of the year, I don't know how much weight he had lost during the season, but he was tiny. Like, you'd watch him trot out there and I'd think, oh man, I'm worried for him. And that wasn't sort of a pity party, but just more of the reality of the situation. So why do I bring it up? Well, this gets back to the mercenary part. Okay, yes, as a human being, I felt bad for him having to go out there and do battle as a very undersized offensive lineman. But then winning the games, man, you can't have that. I want fierce competition at that position between he and Caden Lyles. I want that to come down to the bitter end. They go to war. Caden Lyles is healthy and has maybe dropped a few pounds, whereas Maurice Smith is healthy and gained a few pounds. And let's go. Let's create the competition that we need to better everybody around him.
Yeah, I don't know that makes Caden Lyles magically more agile. It'll be interesting to see if he wins the job. Let's just project that. And it could go either way. If Maurice is truly at the size that they list him at, as advertised, quote unquote, then it could go either way. But if Caden's a part of that starting five, what does that do to the scheme? What do you run? Maybe something a little bit differently?
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of what they do is creating angles. And are they getting to a place where they don't have to create crazy angles in order to set up plays for themselves? Can they just do basic stuff? Because Caden looks like a basic player. Now, he's a giant basic player, but he'll uproot you straight ahead. But I don't know that you're going to see him swinging out to the right on a toss pitch, even though he's down 8 pounds. I don't think that's going to make much of a difference in his ability to do that. But we'll see. We'll see.
The only thing I look at with the loss of 8 pounds is more about did he get healthier once spring ended and the workouts began? Because I really think that the reason we didn't see him and the reason that we were worried about what we're getting with him is just because I don't think he was ever completely healthy in the spring. I think they were trying to bring him along slowly.
Well, there's precedent there with this coaching staff, and that's Dylan Gibbons, who wasn't available for the spring. He didn't transfer until the summer last year, but you didn't like the way he checked in.
Oh, it was embarrassing. I was standing next to you the first time I got a glimpse of him.
And then look at him now. In spring, you're like,
better.
That's more like it. Okay.
When he checked in a year ago and I was standing next to Tom, I'm like, look at that sloppy fat ass. That's embarrassing. And
that is verbatim with tone and everything.
Yeah. And then good for him. I mean, that was a transformation. And really, the reason I was mad was less of a personal attack. More, it comes across as very personal. Tough Love Cameron sometimes crosses or edges up against that line. But the whole thing of it was, Tom, I was like, man, no, I need you to start now. We don't have time for you to get in shape, dude. You should have arrived here in shape. But look at you. Jabba the Hutt, we got no shot out here. I need you to be able to move. And then by week 5, whatever it was, all of a sudden he could move, and he was displacing folks in a way that seemed to befit the lineman we thought he could be when he came in from Notre Dame.
Well,
so
there was probably an injury there that prohibited him from coming to camp in tip-top last year. But with Caden, you got the spring. So now the whole summer to work with Storms, and he could look different. I mean, Gibbons looks like a different player than he did this time last year.
We'll know today. How about that?
About 90 minutes.
We're going to know today. How great is that? Walk out there and go, oh, look at you. I should maybe give like a cryptic text or tweet where I'm not insulting the young man who's also, 5 times my size and could kill me.
You should just take I know that you would balk at this because of what it sounds like, but you should take a selfie video.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
Well, hang on.
Yeah.
Of you watching Caden walk into practice and Maurice walking into practice.
So it's like
it's your reaction.
So the trend.
Okay. Or.
So like the trend on Instagram or TikTok or whatever the kids. So it rolls the NBA starting 5 that you get, the all-time team above your head. And the whole thing is for people to nod their head when they get a player or, oh, no. I got Havlicek. That ain't going to work. Not in today's game. What am I supposed to do with that? Oh, Bill Russell. Okay. Oh, look at that. I got Scottie Pippen. Whatever it might be, right? So I could do that with Caden Lyles. I think it'd be agree, disagree, sadden,
or
excited.
It could literally be you in the walkway as he's coming up and you're just watching. I don't know, guys. Okay.
There we go.
And then just tweet that, and then people will have to figure it out.
Well, we'll see. I'm knocking on wood that he's all right, because that's a guy that didn't get to participate in the spring the way that we thought he would. He was a guy I was really excited to see, because the same thing applied to him that did Dylan Gibbons, and that is that the program they were coming from had a reputation of routinely churning out very upper crust offensive linemen for those leagues. Well, Notre Dame's an independent, might as well be in the Big Ten. But for that culture, for what they've been able to do in the way of producing offensive linemen to the NFL, I thought, man, we got a guy just like I did with Dylan Gibbons, got a Notre Dame offensive lineman. What have they done? They've just churned him out to the pros. So even if he's the backup, he's at a place where they recruited him, so that you knew they saw something from his high school tape. And then in the case of Caden Lyles, he not only started at Wisconsin, and they run the ball. That's what they do. They don't do much else. And he started for a time, got hurt, but he played a ton of football. That seemed to suggest certainly he could come right here, just pop him in the lineup, and you'd be good to go. And that wasn't the case in the spring. And that, again, probably had more to do with him getting healthy, but also learning the system, learning the verbiage and all that. I mean, Atkins, I got faith in Coach Atkins. That's for sure. So let the competition begin. That's a fun one. Probably the most intense competition we're going to watch day in and day out at practices beginning today is with that offensive line. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV.
Thank you for calling the Medicare Help Desk. How can we help you?
Can you help me choose the right coverage for myself and my wife?
We sure can. We can help you choose from Medicare supplements, Medicare Advantage, or standalone prescription drug plans from over 30 different insurance carriers.
How much does it cost? We have a fixed income and can't afford extra expenses.
At the Medicare Help Desk, the consultation is completely free. We are here to help.
Thank you, Medicare Help Desk.
Hi, this is Justin Colvin, founder of the Medicare Help Desk. In my 17 years of experience, I routinely speak to seniors who are overwhelmed by the multitude of coverage options available to them. That's why I created the Medicare Help Desk, a place for you to get clear answers to all your questions and make sense of all the confusion. I've helped thousands of clients, and I live right here in Tallahassee with my family. I am active in my church and wish to help and serve my community. If you need help navigating the Medicare landscape, I'm easy to find. Just visit the MedicareHelpDesk.com. That's the MedicareHelpDesk.com.
Every day, Sellers makes life a little better for homeowners, helping them find the best design ideas for their homes with the best quality tile, carpet, and hardwood flooring. Even mosaics, ceramic, and vinyl solutions are at their fingertips in their remarkable showroom. Maybe it's time for you to get the Sellers Advantage for your home or office. Find them on Capitol Circle Northeast, just north of Mahan Drive, or online at sellerstile.com. For style, quality, and design, get the Sellers Advantage. In Tallahassee, call 656-8453.
Physical stress on our bodies can take its toll as the years go by. Whether you're looking to get back into an old sport or just want to spend more time outdoors to explore all life has to offer in our beautiful city, the dedicated team at TOC is here for you every step of the way. You can trust TOC for all your orthopedic needs. And now, scheduling an appointment has never been easier. Just visit teamtoc.com and click schedule online. That's teamtoc.com.
When you need a plumber quick, how long is an acceptable time to have to wait?
Yeah, hey, it's the Millers again. Just calling you about our little plumbing problem.
2 hours?
Hey, we were hoping you can get here soon because the water is getting really bad. I mean, please hurry.
4 hours?
I know you said you were on your way, but, honey, tell the kids to tread water.
8 hours?
Don't worry about us. We're fine.
At M&L Plumbing, you'll never have to wait long for quality, dependable service right when you need it. At M&L Plumbing, we listen to our customers, and our qualified technicians aim to achieve 100% customer satisfaction. So the next time you need plumbing work or repairs, think of the name M&L Plumbing, your local plumbing experts, commercial or residential. Give us a call, 850-575-9393, or visit us online at mnlplumbing.com. M&L Plumbing, for all of your plumbing needs.
Hearth and Patio wants you to know now is the time to start thinking about your fireplaces. Yes, we know that temperatures are going to be in the mid to upper 90s for the next couple of months, but now is the time to start thinking about upgrading those fireplaces. You're not going to be using them. Get those fireplaces upgraded now. They can repair all makes and models of fireplaces. 850-727-4282. That's 850-727-4282. Or visit them online at hearthpatiotallahassee.com.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
The Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Starting and practices begin. Looking at our schedule again, going back through it. Not time for a W's and L's just yet, but we'll have to get to that, Tom, because W's and L's, the final one, is always done in August. Can you believe it?
At least a week's worth of padded practices, right?
Yeah, I got to see them. I got to see them line up and hit one another and who's emerging and knock on wood. You try to do the last W's and L's to be the most accurate, obviously. I don't know that anything's happened for us to waver up to now, although they have added more offensive linemen since the last W's and L's that we've done. But I started to look at it again and ask myself, which game am I most excited about? Which is the game beyond LSU, because everybody's going to say LSU, that I am most excited about. And and I like to look at it in two ways. What it says about the team, what it means if, like, let's say I pick a game like Clemson, Florida State on the 15th here. If I pick that game, it partly means, yes, it's a high-profile game, but it also means that I think they've navigated the first half of the schedule in a positive way, and that this is the catalyst for, like, potentially a better than imagined season. And then on the other hand, if I pick a game like October the 8th, the week before, against NC State, by the way, tough stretch. NC State, Clemson back-to-back, no bueno. But you go to NC State, there's a part of me that thinks if they're a lot tougher than they were a year ago, a lot deeper than they were a year ago, and a lot more confident than they were a year ago, that game could be dicey for NC State, who will be a significant favorite, not a huge favorite, but a touchdown favorite. That could get dicey into the fourth quarter, and that gets fun.
And an NC State team that's coming off of playing Clemson on the road the week before.
There you go, right?
So what if they put all their eggs into the Clemson basket? They lose 17-14 in a defensive slugfest because Clemson's offense still isn't good, which is good news for us. But they're heartbroken, and they come home. They find heartbreak, Mitch. And there we are.
Right next to
with
the
one
Sears
loss on the
Roebuck.
ledger for the whole season, and we're feeling good about ourselves.
The biggest upset Florida State will spring on the schedule this year is against whom?
One more time.
The biggest upset that Florida State will spring, surprise,
Miami.
November the 5th.
Miami on the road.
A game I'll be at.
Oh, okay.
I tend to go down there. I've got dear friends, obviously, there, and I've been in the stands for some of those great moments, also some of the heartbreak.
Mitch. But when I said that doesn't shock you, does it?
It doesn't. I think Miami's pretty good. I don't think they're great. They're not an elite team. I do think they have more talent than Florida State. They had more talent than Florida State last year, and they lost that game here, of course. But, God, there's I'm having a hard time answering it because we're underdogs against LSU. I don't know that nobody would be shocked if we beat LSU, though.
But I
don't
think
even
we'd
think
be
that
larger spread underdogs against Miami than LSU.
Yeah.
I'm projecting that right now, but I feel that way.
Probably, yeah. I'm just saying that if you look at it from the vantage point of those that cover college football and not just Florida State, what would be the perception? What's the biggest upset on the schedule? Is it LSU that first week for them, or week one of the season? Is it NC State on the road, who a lot of people like to win the ACC this year, and they weren't picked to win the ACC, but they finished second in the Atlantic, and of course they beat Clemson last year, and they beat us, and they also have a really good quarterback in Leary. That's a road game. Would it be Clemson here? Is that a bigger upset if we were to beat Clemson? Clemson, talent-wise, that would be the biggest upset of the year if we beat Clemson. We almost did a year ago up there. But that game, if Florida State beat Clemson this year, I think a lot of people would be pretty damn surprised. I mean, we're picked 5th in the ACC.
That was interesting. 5th?
Well, let me say about that. The margins are so razor thin. I can certainly understand it, because if you just say that Clemson and NC State most assuredly are going to finish above Florida State, so now all you're doing is arguing about 3rd, 4th, or 5th. So Louisville, who beat Florida State a year ago, and once again is hosting that game with an elite quarterback. Okay, if you're going to look at those two teams, you're going to say, well, I like I like Louisville to win that game. All right, so now you're just arguing about 4th or 5th. All right, the only issue you're really taking with the vote is that I have a problem with us finishing behind Wake. You mean Wake, who beat our ass a year ago? So you can see it from afar. You can see why somebody would say, well, what's the problem?
From afar. But they don't see what we see. I see 1% better every day, and there's been a lot of days between last season and now. It's a lot of percentage points.
Okay, so I'm in the camp, and there are plenty of people who completely disagree with me on this, and I said it after the game last year, and I've sustained my belief in this. I don't think that Florida State was nearly as bad in that game as the final score indicated against Wake Forest. What I mean is, it's just the measure of the two teams.
The lack of competition. Yeah.
It was just nonsense. There was an avalanche of nonsense that happened in that game that led to that score disparity. You can't turn it over a gazillion times either. And he brought that up yesterday. You could tell that still eats at him. Because I think he knows. I mean, there are pivotal moments in the first half of that game. If it goes the other way, if you're not called for two absurd penalties that extend drives and lead directly to points. If that doesn't happen, man, you are in a position to maybe win that game. Now, again, it did happen. And ifs and ands or buts and all that, yeah.
Candy and nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Delicious.
If the queen had. But yeah.
No idea.
You don't know that one?
No. Oh, she'd be a king?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do know. Sorry about that.
Yeah. So, yeah. That's that I understand that's the retort. Like, oh no, man, it really wasn't that close. They're way better at quarterback. Well, they were way better at quarterback.
We were flipping a coin with what quarterback we were sending out drive for drive, but it's not crazy to think that even with that we'd be competitive because we were competitive in just about every game out of the last 8. A lot of those were against teams that were much better.
That game really pisses me off, and because of it, I've always taken issue with Wake Forest. It goes all the way back, not just to the ass kicking we took, which actually was necessary because I remember leaving the stadium thinking, well, that's good. That happened. That means Jeff Bowden's going to get fired. Good. But remember that field of theirs, which was a nightmare forever. Every time we went up there, a player got hurt. Now, you got to go back a ways with me to the Greg Jones era, everybody. But you guys know what I'm talking about. It seemed like for a while, every time we went on the road to play Wake Forest, we had a player get hurt. And I built resentment within me towards that program. Sorry ass fan base, nobody there, stupid stadium, injury riddled all the time. And they've had a knack for pulling off upsets against us. So it was always very frustrating. And then last year happened and it kind of rekindled my disdain. Now I'm like, oh, you sons of bitches going to get beat. I'm tired of this. This is nonsense.
Yeah. My undergrad experience, every time we played Wake and it was important, we would get smoked. We played 4 quarterbacks. Yeah, we played 4 quarterbacks in a home game when I was in undergrad. 4.
It's Wake.
Yeah.
God dog it, man. That should never happen. We ought to go, when we're right, when we're operating at peak efficiency, Florida State should handily win 10 in a row against Wake Forest. It ought not even be a thought. Like, oh, Wake, okay, so let's name our score this week. That's how it ought to be.
Maybe 8 out of 10 because Clawson's got him in a good place right now. But yeah, I hear you.
No, he's a good coach. I'm not discounting him as a coach. Come on, there's
45, 42, one of those
75
jobs.
People attend that university. Can we come on?
And
man.
Yet their take home has always been dollar for dollar equal to us. And yet.
That's a revenge game, Tommy. I'm going to go to that game and I will not be able to be objective. I'm going to go as a fan. Don't count on me for anything after that pregame.
And Wake, we're going to cut your pay.
I'm going in rowdy. Me and Pops are going to go into that game a little lubed up.
How do you feel about $8 million a year in TV revenue? $8 million.
For Wake?
I haven't missed a day. Well, you work the overnight shift, Wake.
I'm going to give you $50. You're doing nothing for us.
You show up every day, but it's the 11 to 4.
I can get anybody to show up every day.
A.M.
Giving us what you do. Come on. No, I know. I'm with you. I can hear it in your voice. You don't like them either.
No.
You don't like that they're a drain on the system.
That has been, you rolled your eyes for years when I said, why are we paying them the same amount of money that we get?
It didn't make a difference because we weren't going to, you can't change that. It's a conference. We're in the conference.
But now Jim Phillips says you can change. It's magic. It's amazing.
But it doesn't matter. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. They're not going to come up with a system that's going to make any damn bit of difference. It didn't work in the Big 12. It's not going to work here.
It would work better for us in the short term. There you go, Wake. 25 cents on the dollar. There you go.
Well, I would rather say that to Boston College and Syracuse and others.
Say it all.
I mean, Wake at least will, every now and again show up in the damn ACC championship game. Not that they should. That's embarrassing for the ACC, but it happens. BC is not, I know the one time, guys. It's not happening ever again. And I like Halfley. Syracuse ain't going there anytime either. Talk to those sorry asses.
Get
Tell
them all in
Duke,
a room.
Tell Duke to suck it.
There you go. Get all 4 of them in a room and say, who wants the check? Because we've got more money up front for you right now to vote to disband this conference, but only one of you does. So who's going to raise their hand?
Yeah.
I bet Wake would.
Volunteer for that one.
Wake would raise their hand.
We'll take the $50. It's a sad day, guys.
I thought you would, Wake.
I got to take it.
The rest of you, get out of here.
I got to take it. Thank me for it. There you go. It's the Jeff Cameron Show. Warchant TV, 93.3, Real Talk Radio.
With just over 3 weeks until the school year begins in Leon County, the district is facing a critical shortage in bus drivers to get students to and from school. As it stands now, Superintendent Hanna said the district only has 97 bus drivers and 115 bus routes that need to be filled. Lead drivers and other supervisors are filling in for the time being until the district can bring on more qualified drivers. The district is increasing driver pay to over $18 an hour to try and bring in more recruits. The district has also waived the fingerprint fee for applicants to become bus drivers, but the background check process remains in place. The Florida Department of Health is alerting the public about elevated bacteria levels in the Withlacoochee River, which flows into the Suwannee River. The fecal bacteria present in the Withlacoochee, which is south of Valdosta, Georgia, may result in potential exposure to people in Madison, Hamilton, and Suwannee counties. If you come into contact with the river water, you should wash thoroughly, especially before eating or drinking. This is Rachel Lene with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Partly cloudy this afternoon with scattered thunderstorms likely. High temperatures reach up to 90. South winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Chance for scattered thunderstorms tonight. Lows dip down to about 74. Partly cloudy skies. Chance for scattered thunderstorms again tomorrow. Highs level off around 90. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 89.
This is Kyle, service manager from Barano Heating and Air. Schedule an appointment from your mobile device to learn about our Total Comfort Service Program. With guaranteed same-day service, 15% off necessary repairs, and $25 berry bucks to use towards air filters and other products. Turn to the experts at Carrier and Barano Heating and Air. Any day, anytime, anywhere. Online at baranoac.com.
Florida license CAC 1816-186.
Well. Hey, Jeff, look at this place.
Yeah. Well, doing well. It's been a while since I've seen you, brother, but, it hasn't been a while since I've been over to Gordo's. I go there on the regular because of you, Eddie.
Well, we keep you regular.
Well, that's true, but I think of Gordo's as a place to sit down, have a cold beer, talk to your friends, enjoy the sports, eat the delicious food. But I think of you as Uncle Eddie, a man who takes care of his people and takes care of the town.
I appreciate that, Jeff. Hey, and we'll keep you regular.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
Here's what you missed on the Greg Tish Show.
We need to have history. We need to have literature. It deserves an explanation. We don't need to be promoting lifestyles that come into play for your average elementary school.
Well, I had an experience with this. When my daughter was in school, her teacher gave her a book to read, but then she asked me what the C word is.
That was in the book.
That was in the book.
Okay, so about the C word. So you're talking about conservatives, right?
The Greg Tish Show, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m., only on Real Talk 93.3.
You all right over there? I can see the frustration building as the computer betrayed you.
We'll get there.
Look, you got to get to the front of the line if you're trying to get in the current housing market with inventory low and demand high. And that TBD full underwriting approval from Legendary Home Loans will help get you there. You'll shorten, even remove your financing contingency. The sellers will also know that your offer is very real. So let's get to it. You want the advantage of a proven winning team in your huddle. Football analogy, get it? Pre-approval underwriting from my friend Shannon, Legendary Home Loans. Here's the number: 844-FSU-LOAN, 844-FSU-LOAN. You can just visit FSUHomeLoans.com, FSUHomeLoans.com. You know, I got good word yesterday. Somebody we know that was talking about some of the numbers. And I mean this is an actual story, and I don't want to get into too many details and betray the trust, but Rising Spear's doing well. It's important to FSU.
Man, that's a couple of times this week now.
Well, we're moving towards the end of the week where the big recruiting weekend that is at the end of July here, because again, you can't do it in August, and they've got some big names coming in, and there's been a push. I'm not going to, deflect that part of it. I mean, look, at the end of the day, people know that you need money, especially when you identify some of the higher end, better targets that are rolling in this weekend, or at least to show the ability, the capability, what's possible, as we like to say. And I think Florida State has really put themselves in a much better position with a lot of these guys than I thought possible 6 months ago. I know that particular organization continues to grow and reach out to they're having a big get together tonight, by the way, Tom, in Tampa. Big get together tonight in Tampa.
The people who can help are getting together.
Well, a lot of invites to potential strong, powerful, successful donors or potential donors. If you're listening to this and you're in the Tampa area, you can maybe make your way over to tonight's event. Can reach out and find out all about that. I know that they were making sure that all that needed to be included could be included, because their efforts remain vigilant. And I say that biased. I'm biased. I want to see this work. I need to see if you're in Noles listening to this, you need to see this work. I don't really care who succeeds on that front, just that somebody does and that our house is in order and it continues to grow and be organized, better organized. And I think our place now, at least in terms of competing for and having a shot at a number of guys that will be sought after by Miami, by Florida, some other schools in the Southeast, is in a good place. I didn't think I'd say that. I didn't think I'd have an opportunity to say that 6 months ago, 8 months ago, and now that's happening. And I think the crescendo is for this weekend.
Well, that's where the coaching staff, obviously, we know in this day and age, it's been this way a long time. They spend 20 hours a day on their job, especially this period of the calendar. But think about it. Yesterday, you had the media availability, players report, so you go through whatever initial stuff you need to go through. Practice 3 days in a row. They have off, the football team does, on Saturday, so the coaching staff can do the huge event that they're hosting on Saturday, the Seminole Cookout. And then they go practice Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, break Wednesday, and then they practice Thursday, Friday into a scrimmage next Saturday. So they are wall to wall covering everything from team functions to recruiting functions. And this is where the week 0 makes things a little bit more difficult for a coaching staff. You would be able to wrap up the recruiting side of things before regular camp begins. But when you play week 0, you got to compress everything together. So they are busy as heck right now.
You're hosting Michael Langston Thursday, I do believe, Tom, on Warchant TV. For those that are interested in getting down into the weeds with recruiting and learning more about who's going to be here, who's not, and who they're excited about, who they think they have a chance with, even about guys that may very well commit this weekend, and you may get some verbals this weekend. It's not out of the realm of possibility. In fact, I'm hearing that it's even likely with a couple of guys.
Yeah, we'll discuss that tomorrow night. It's 8 o'clock on the channel. 8 o'clock tomorrow night. Warchant TV will be live. Michael will be doing the driving, man. I'm just going to throw in those softballs of, what about this kid? What about that kid? Because that's where I am on the recruiting thing right now. You are more knowledgeable right now on the particular kids. I know about Glenn and some others.
Brock Glenn, the quarterback.
Yep.
Our fan base is getting a little nervous about that.
I mean, any day now, Brock. Now, apparently, he's in his first week of high school camp, so he's a little bit busy. But let's get going.
Yeah, and I like that kid, by the way, and I like what his projection is. I still feel pretty good about that. You're not going to get a commitment, for example, this weekend out of Akeem Williams. Why would he? He's going to wait.
It's a good question.
Yeah. Well, I also think that when we talk about big recruiting weekends and we talk about donations to Rising Spear and giving them a fighting chance to get big-time players in here, at the end of the day, some of these kids, while that's well and good, you have to show proof of concept. You have to show that you're capable of competing with the big boys in terms of NIL. Yeah, that's good. That's a stepping stone to perhaps having a real shot with a kid. But what you do on the field ultimately this season is going to be huge. And I think that more than anything, the people within, I don't want to speak for them, but the folks that make up Rising Spear, and I think anybody that really is heavily involved in recruiting understand that you can't get off to a slow start. So we repeat it all the time, but it's a big component because I get a lot of emails, people bring it up in the chat, get a lot of tweets and all that stuff. Well, people will say, well, we're not getting yeses. We're not getting certain guys to even take a look at us just yet. I think they've kind of reached the upper end of what they're capable of without wins.
Well, and more times than not, the recruiting side of an operation for a football program might have a very different story to tell than the team side of the operation. Because, it's the same thing in our business. Michael and a staff meeting might be saying something completely different about momentum than we're talking about because we're in week 6 and the team's off to a good start or a bad start. It could be they're 5-1 and a recruiting side will say, man, well, they're kind of dragging ass right now, or vice versa.
Right.
But we all agree this year. Everybody agrees, whether it's you talking on the radio or it's Wake Up Warchant or it's Michael in a recruiting chat. Everybody says the same thing. It's critical. Wins. It's all about the football field. It's all about Saturdays this year to drive this thing home. Because if that doesn't happen, then, well, we're going to get a new philosophy from a new coach.
Yeah, probably so. And I would tell you this, that commitment list already with Keldrick Falk having committed, and if you're just looking at defensive end, obviously Lamont Green, you feel really good about that. Those are important positions. You got 2 offensive linemen, both of which are 4-star kids to go along with the 4-star defensive ends. From there, you want to see some bigger names at wide receiver. And, that's where everybody gets excited about Hakeem Williams, understandably. But I think that the better players of that ilk at the skill positions that we're talking about here, defensive back, running back, wide receiver, certainly quarterbacks, you may be able to get a quarterback who likes your system, believes in the offensive-minded head coach. That may work. But most of the time, they're going to need to see the wins. And this offense hasn't been good. So if you're talking about those kinds of players, they're going to need to see the wins.
That was the amazing thing to me at how they got 4 transfer wide receivers this past offseason. Honestly, if you're advising a young man and you're looking at what Florida State has brought to the table with Mike Norvell, not the Memphis offense, because they're going to sell you the Memphis offense and what you could do. You could be Coxie, the next Coxie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what is there to hang your hat on, and why would you come here? So it has to be about the being real on a pitch. If you're Mike Norvell and staff, to say, look, we have been sorry at the passing game. That's why we're calling on you. But that's a leap of faith.
It's a big leap of faith, and coaches need a guy to make that leap with them that shows what's possible and upgrades, raises the floor. That we talk about that all the time. Jimbo got it from a couple of big key recruits early on when he went all in and said, I promise you where we're headed, this thing's going to be much better, but I need guys like you to be the cornerstone of that. And so, we talk about LaMarcus Joyner and players like that said, yes, that took that leap of faith. I don't know who that player is going to be offensively for this staff and for Mike Norvell. One would think it would have to be an elite receiver.
And but what I'm saying is last year in the transfer portal, it's Micah Pittman. It's Johnny Wilson. But, they obviously don't have great options. It's not like Alabama's calling, but still, if you're looking at programs like Florida State, there are probably programs that won 5 games last year that are better and more bona fide in the passing attack than we are.
Yeah, and that's where their approach has served them well with transfer portal guys. They have a brutal honesty with their approach. They don't tell them that this is going to happen or you're going to be this. They don't sell, sort of ego. They don't play to their egos. They tell them you're going to have to work really hard. We'll make you better. I promise you that, but you're going to have to buy in. And, you probably scare some guys off doing that. But if you can, some guys really want to be challenged. I was told Jermaine Johnson really wanted to be challenged because he knew that people were going to look at his past and how many schools he had been at. And they were going to wonder, why is a talent like this having gone to these places and not worked out? Why is he still on the move all the time? So they, in essence, were questioning his leadership and his integrity. Well, he came to a place like Florida State, not just because he could start, but he really thought that being challenged in that way and being given the tools to lead would certainly serve him well when he did draft interviews. And that I think definitely happened.
So what's interesting is I was watching a Mets game about 6 weeks ago, and Jermaine was one of the guys that come to throw the first pitch. And
Oh,
so
really?
he's behind home plate. He's wearing Mets gear. It's just really strange just to see him wearing that. But he was getting interviewed by the SNY team because they do a lot of Jets coverage. And they asked him, so you had a great year at Florida State. What is it about this organization that you seem so fired up about? He goes, well, we fit together because it's the idea that he's okay with making a tougher decision and going on his own and helping build something that attracted the Jets to him.
Correct.
It wasn't just about the success he had at Florida State. They want to know why he went to Florida State. And he specifically brought up Florida State during the interview. Again, it was just kind of surreal, but that's what made those two click. That coaching staff, that new front office that the Jets have, saying, you know what? This is the kind of guy we need to flip this, because he just made a similar decision in his college career.
Yeah, and then he proved it. Yeah. I think if you're where Florida State's at, you really do. I mean, Mike had to come in and flip the locker room, and the only way you do that is to certainly you have a game plan, you have a vision, you have a belief, you have a strategy to it, you have a pitch, but you have to believe in that pitch and then convince others to do so. And I don't think you can waver from that. That's the one good thing that's happened despite all the losing. He's not really wavered, and none of that's changed. Now, you could argue if it doesn't work out that he should have, but I would lose faith in a guy that changed what he thought was necessary to win and to establish long-term success. If he had a few bad years, especially with extreme circumstances, he just decided to flip that. Well, that wouldn't be good. And by the way, recruits would see right through that too.
Yeah, that's why if this does turn around, you go back to that 0-4 press conference where he didn't say execution. You know, we're doing what we can. Some guys need to choose to step up. It wasn't that. It was stay the course.
And he mentioned, and he fairly and rightfully did acknowledge that it was an embarrassing, humiliating defeat. I think he needed to do that because we certainly all felt that. And we're like looking at him like, don't don't act like you don't know that is unacceptable. He didn't. He led with that. He led with, I take full responsibility. That's humiliating, unacceptable loss, all that. He's handled that aspect well. There's some other aspects that maybe not, that you can take issue with. At the end of the day, starts today. Got to have a winning season, man. Got to go out and have a winning season.
I think if you go and have that winning season at the number that we're looking for, also some of those shortcomings, they might fix themselves. Winning might help, as in, personnel decisions. I'm not talking about just players.
Yeah. It's not only difficult to recruit players when you're struggling. Certainly difficult across the board. Behind and in front of the camera, it's very, very difficult. We'll come back, do some probables, and roll on over to practice, everybody.
If you're a business owner of any kind, you need advanced fire protection services. We are AFPS, and we provide high-quality life safety services throughout Northwest Florida, and we've been doing it since 1989, with offices now in Tallahassee. Fire sprinklers, fire alarms, fire extinguishers, hood suppression systems, and emergency exit lights. For all of your life safety equipment, we've got you covered 24/7. We are Advanced Fire Protection Services. For a free life safety system evaluation, visit WeSaveLives.com. That's WeSaveLives.com.
Over 50 years ago, when Paul Nicholson founded Paul's Termite and Pest Control, he had one goal in mind: provide the best service possible to his neighbors so they felt like family. Your problem was his problem, so today it's our problem. Paul's service area is our home. It's where our kids go to school, where we shop, and where we get involved with community organizations. So if some out-of-town company knocks on your door and begins pressuring you to sign an agreement for termite or pest control, you can bet on a few things. Number one, you'll never see that person again. Number two, your technician is likely to change often. And number three, your money will not stay in North Florida. These companies are sending your money to home offices in Atlanta, Orlando, Salt Lake City, or even Great Britain. Paul's Termite and Pest Control knows local means something to you. The health of your Tallahassee home, family, and pets is our number one priority. For the elimination of termites and pests and a greener lawn too, call your local company with local solutions. Paul's Termite and Pest Control.
If you're hearing this right now and you or someone you know is active military, a veteran, police officer, firefighter, nurse, or a teacher, turn up the volume and listen to this. My friend Shannon with Legendary Home Loans has a Hometown Hero loan program designed to make a difference to those who make a difference. When it's time to buy a new home, he will waive all lender fees for all Hometown Heroes. That's a $1,600 value right out of the gate. Also, if you decide to use their preferred title company for the closing, you'll be saving another $600. That's $2,200 in discounts right off the top. That's like 20 tanks of gas in your car. And today, more than ever, it's important to save as much money as you can, wherever you can. So if you or someone you know is active military, veteran, police officer, firefighter, nurse, or a school teacher and looking to buy a new home, choose Shannon Young, Legendary Home Loans, and ask about their Hometown Heroes program. Call 844-FSU-LOAN or just visit FSUHomeLoans.com. That's FSUHomeLoans.com.
Equal housing lender. NMLS number 2270146.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus, happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas Wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
With those that would like to see it. Not much we can do about it, though, which is folks want the Sinatra back for probables. They want it's just not the same with the generic music. We agree. We even had folks offering to raise money in order to pay whatever we needed to pay to be able to utilize the music, but I don't think they realize.
Yeah, that's a big check. It's a real big one, like 6 figures. So feel free if you have that to
yeah, sure.
feign Rising Spear and give it to us.
Yeah,
we'll play the hell out of Sinatra.
Oh, well, if you give us 6 figures, we'll play. We'll just be a veritable jukebox up here. We'll play whatever you want at that point. It is time for probables. So if you would, sir.
It's time for, how you say, with the pitching, probables?
We got an ass kicking in Philadelphia. Philly's telling the Braves to touch their toes. 7-2 action in the 7th right there.
Go ahead and chop that.
Some of that beat down. Padres, Tigers, 2-1. San Diego leading Detroit in the 5th. By the way, I should give you the starters from those previous teams. Morton, Charlie Morton, Kyle Gibson. Yu Darvish started for the Padres. Tanik Skubal going for the Tigers. We go to the Angels and Royals. That game tied at 0-0 in the 3rd. Guy's name is Jansen Junk. Hey now.
All right.
Jansen Junk got the start for the Angels. His first. Hasn't given up an earned run. He's already struck out 6. They're in the 3rd. Jansen.
Please tell me he's 5'9" and a soft toss and lefty.
He's a righty, and I don't know how tall he is. Brad Keller started for the Royals. Twins, Brewers, Chris Archer, still in the league. Pitching decently. Corbin Burns goes for the Brewers. Nationals, Dodgers, Patrick Corbin, Andrew Haney, White Sox, Rockies, Lucas Giolito, and Antonio Santana. Stros, A's, Christian Javier, Cole Irvin. Giants, D-backs, Logan Webb and Zach Gallen. We got the Texas Rangers taking on the Seattle Mariners. That'll be John Gray and Marco Gonzalez. You know the record of the Seattle Mariners, Tom Lane?
7 games over 500.
8 games over 500. Good job. Marlins, Reds, Braxton Garrett, and Luis Castillo. Rays, Orioles, Drew Rasmussen, Tyler Wells. Cardinals, Blue Jays, Adam Wainwright, Kevin Gossman. Guardians, Red Sox, Cal Quantrill, Nathan Eovaldi. And finally, Yankees Mets tonight, Domingo Germán and Max Scherzer. And that is a look at those that shall reside on the bump. Woohoo! Let's pack it up and head over to the More Athletic Center and the IPF and have a good time, man. I'm ready to see who checks in, ready to roll, and who needs some work. Fall camp. Good work out of Tom. Good work out of you, Director Matthew. Thanks, everybody. Be well. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. Peace.